Yesterday was good. It was good. My overall impressions of the game were overall positive. I tweeted about it after. I don't know if you saw the tweet or not, but after collecting my thoughts a little bit, I was overall pretty satisfied with the game. So when it comes to like the art, obviously the game is really good and it looks amazing. The cutscenes look really nice. The gameplay feels smooth. There's no lags. The sensitivity of like casting the spells, moving around, and the responsiveness of like the time between like casting and actions happening feels good. I do have some well, not complaints but hopes that they will work on. Honestly, something that I noticed that's been really throwing me off at the since the very beginning, since like the beginning of the first cutscene, is that um is that voice, like the way they threw in these little one word reactions basically to what's in the speech bubble that I get to read. But more often than not, what's in the speech bubble had nothing to do with the actual speech bubble at all, and that is honestly one of the biggest turnoffs for me, and it's been distracting as I was reading it. And I was reading about this online from some early reviews from other people, and I noticed that other people had the same complaints when it comes to those. So I don't know if that's something that they want to change or can change or whatever, but I think the game would be a lot better if they just pressed delete and just got rid of that. In this particular case, in this scenario, less is more. Honestly, that is one thing. The story overall feels really good. I like the world setup, but honestly, there was this one moment in the story when I felt like the story was a little lacking. Do you know how, what is the name? I can't see the name of the girl, I forgot, sorry. But like, do you know that moment yesterday, like when we were in a cutscene, we finished the mission and we walked into her mansion? And she discovered that she is the last survivor of like her whole entire family. What threw me off a little bit at the beginning, and I didn't want to comment on it because I thought we were going to get some sort of conclusion later on, is how she didn't react to it at all. Like, she almost said nothing, and basically her first words after that was like, hey, can I join your group of mercenaries? It's like there was no like, oh my god, my family's dead or whatever. And you know how like in Final Fantasy, when you finish the quest, after the quest you get to talk to like an NPC or whatever, and you get to find out like more about how they feel and what they want to do and whatnot. So what I felt after exiting the cutscene and talking to her, I felt like there was a serious lack of feelings of remorse, of empathy, of anything. When she said like, oh, I think I'll like it here. And I kept thinking about that moment throughout my gameplay, and honestly I didn't want to comment on it until I went back and like rewatched that moment when it happened, because maybe I missed out on something. Maybe, I don't know, it was a little weird. Like, that's the part that struck me as a little odd. So if you want my honest feedback, I think that there are moments in the story for now, like I'm very early into the story, but like I would hate to feel like my immersion in the game is broken because something that is supposed to be big in the story just kind of doesn't feel as big because the characters don't react to it at all. So those are the two things that I want to comment on. I saw a lot of different reviews. Some people comment on, I don't know, the fights not being what they would expect or want, the cutscenes not being what they would expect or want. But to me, those feel amazing, and overall, the game feels really smooth, feels really good, and I am looking forward to the game. But these are just well, I'm making this video, and this. I'm just commenting on this in hopes that it is not too late if they want to address some of these things for them to be addressed. Yeah, I get that, like in like JRPGs, and I don't know about like Square Enix games overall, because I can't say that I played like all of the games that would be like put in the same genre, so I feel kind of uncomfortable commenting on that. I would like I feel like if there's not gonna be an emotional response to your whole family being slaughtered, there better not be any slaughtering in the game at all. You know, like if it's not too late for them to just kind of, you know, go back and just edit these big moments so that the characters actually are, I don't know, that you feel that they're aware of their situation. Like I feel like it would make the game so much better. Now, obviously, I don't know. I don't know what the story is going to turn out, and this is something that I'm going to have to see. And I'm gonna give you some of my other thoughts after I finish the gameplay today. This is a lot of content. This is a ton of content. Actually, I think it took me a lot longer to play through the content than it would have with someone who has more experience with this particular kind of game. I am not a very reactive person when it comes to like moving around, but the reason why I like this game so much is because even the demo managed to push me. And I think at the end, like I think at the final mission or whatever, I personally felt like I was getting better. And I understood what is expected of me. Like when I played through the game, I understood how not to like give up on my units on the field and just like escape or whatever. Like I learned when I can escape and when I can actually attack, or when I can like when I should be micromanaging the amount of like mana that I have for certain abilities. So I feel like the game actually has pushed me to think and to do better, which I like. And I understand that this type of game might not be like difficult for a lot of people, but for me, I'm personally enjoying the challenge, and I don't think I've enjoyed playing a demo like this in a very long time. Accessory is the last thing you need. See, this is where I also made a mistake. I purchased like the, I think those were like the pants for all of my guys at that point. Before the mission, like I purchased like the rings and whatnot. I did have like a couple of weapons, but I didn't think that investing into a single weapon was going to be that influential. I tried to boost those micro stats that in hindsight I should not have been doing, but now I know. So we're gonna be fine for when the game comes out. This is the game that I definitely will play here on Twitch if you're watching on Twitch, and definitely on my main channel, because I think the game deserves a lot of attention. Now, I started like talking about this as a little bit of a review before starting today's stream, and I did mention some of the things that I don't particularly enjoy. Like I don't like how they speak between the speech bubbles that I'm supposed to read. Honestly, I think if there's any hope for them to edit the game and like fix some things before the launch, I think they should just press delete on all of them, because it just feels so overwhelming. I like that the game is not easy. Maybe it's easy for, you know, for someone like I said who has a lot of experience, but I feel challenged, and it's a pleasant kind of challenge because I'm really into the game and I'm looking forward to playing it. And for the first time in a while, I don't have this attitude that like, oh gosh, I just need to push through the gameplay to get to the story bit. I'm actually genuinely enjoying the gameplay. The maps and the whole idea of combat excites me, and I'm excited for both the story and the actual playthrough. Now that I understand the game better, my overall impression is that this demo was very generous, very good, but that there are these things that could be improved, maybe. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just my personal thing that I'm so bothered by this speech thing. Like, I think the game would be so much better if they just like abandoned that idea fully, and if they just went for voiced cutscenes and no voice, kind of like the way it is in Final Fantasy, like the way you just get to read the speech bubbles and you get to have like your own like impersonation of like what the person actually said. Like, their voices in between those just throw me off. Another little thing that I think could be improved is just adding a little bit more of those tooltips. Now, maybe I'm just the kind of person who gets a bit more confused by the things that I shouldn't be getting confused by. But at that one point, they did ask me to, like, I don't know, do something in a side quest or whatever, and like that green thing was just like gone from the map, and I didn't know where to go. Or like, I think, for example, if we're comparing, like, I like to compare everything with Final Fantasy XIV because it is my main game, so I tend to overdo that a little bit. But you know how Final Fantasy has too many tooltips? I feel like this game should have like half of Final Fantasy's tooltips. Like, it's just like it needs just a little bit to make this beginning transition into the game a little bit easier. It has some, but I still had a bunch of questions, and there were still points of time where I was getting a little lost and a little confused. The game is punishing when it comes to spending gold, that's true, and be very, very careful with that if you're playing through the demo. And the chat has definitely given me some good tips, and thank you for that. If I do decide to like go into the autosave to replay this mission and actually get all the items that I need, this is going to be extremely useful, and hopefully for anyone watching this video, it's going to be useful as well. You agree that this game needs a better tutorial? I agree as well. I think the game was made with the mindset that you already know this kind of thing from other games as well. I have played my fair share of tactical games, but not as real-time as this is. I'm more of a turn-based person, and for me, the whole premise of things happening in real time was stressful and fun, but at the same time I was clueless for a very long time, because I felt like the game should be giving me some tips, at least suggestions on like how to micromanage my decisions. Not that I expected a guide or anything like that, but plus the boss fight is a giant difficulty spike. It is. Honestly, my honest opinion about the game is that it's very, very, very it's very compelling for me to play it, because I'm the kind of person who just easily gets pissed off when it just feels like a giant spike. And I'm not saying that I always quit games, but sometimes, like, when I feel that initial spike, it just makes me feel like I'm like not good enough for it. But this game has gotten me to want to play that so badly, and like get through that difficulty spike so badly, and it was so satisfying to win that. It was so satisfying to go through that mission, and if the game keeps feeding me with those battles that are going to be slightly more difficult every time, but are going to give me this kind of feeling, like this kind of satisfaction at the end, I am going to play the shit out of this game, because it just feels good. It feels good when you finally go through it. I wish I have another little, it's not a complaint, but what I disliked is that when you decide to spend gold and do all this stuff within a mission, all of that gets like wiped away. I understand that that's the premise of the game, and it's convenient that you can access the shop and access everything before you start the mission, but sometimes if you're repeating mission like 3 or 4 or 5 times or whatever, you have to like spend your gold every time. And maybe it's a good thing, because you get to maybe try and buy different items, see what you actually need and what you don't. So maybe from that point of view it's actually good, but for me it was a bit annoying, but probably because I've repeated the mission like 5 times or so. So maybe that's not really a good idea, but at the same, maybe I'm just biased when it comes to that. But overall, I'm trying to think if there about like if there's anything that that actually was a bit difficult or problematic. No, not really. Everything was good. Voice acting is so good. Like the voices are not like, I want to say like Disney voices, you know. They don't, or anime voices. They don't like overemphasize their feelings or whatever. They're just like very natural. They sound a little bit exhausted, which I think is a good thing because they are at war, and like after battles you can actually feel, the satisfaction, but like also that like gloomy tone of their voice of like exhaustion and I just want to go home and whatnot. So the voices are great. Just please just get them out of those speech bubbles. It's like the games just don't do this, and they don't do it for good reason. It's like if they had read like the first part of the sentence or something like that was in the speech bubble, it would have been fine. But what I'm bothered with the most is that it has like almost nothing to do with the speech bubble. It feels like writing an essay. It feels like those words and those sentences are thrown like it feels like the beginnings are like thrown in from some random essay. It's like in conclusion, consequently, whatever. It's like those words that you learn at school that you need to start the paragraph with. Just don't do it. Don't do it. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. It really throws you off. It breaks the immersion, and I just really hope that that they reconsider this because I don't know. I don't know if other people feel like this as well. I've seen a couple of these comments online as well, and I'm just hoping that like I'm just hoping that if they don't want to throw it out, I hope that it's not too late for them to maybe just rework some of these sentences to just make a little more sense. The graphics are amazing. I really like the art style, and it is something that it's very unique. I don't think I've ever played the game that looks exactly like this, and I like the things that you can do in Unreal. Definitely a game worth playing if you are into this artistic art style. If you're into this art style, but be prepared to have to fight hard for to get to your cutscenes, to get to your lore. That's just my opinion about the game. I hope this was at least somewhat useful for anyone who is thinking about playing the game or purchasing it. I'm very satisfied, very satisfied. I'm happy. I'm happy with it, and the game comes out on, I believe, September 22nd. I don't want to lie to you. I can check it, but I do believe that it's the 22nd. Let me check out the store page on Steam. The game, yes, it comes out on 22nd of September, and I'll definitely be playing it here on the channel. So if this is something that you enjoy, I hope that you're gonna look forward to it. We will be done with most of the big things. Final Fantasy wise, like with the 6.2 patch, I will still, of course, be playing Final Fantasy, but this game will take an amount of my time, and I'm looking forward to it. They're probably going to adjust it if it's really that bad, but it's hard to throw out. Honestly, for now, I don't know if that's just my personal opinion, and if I'm like the only person who's played through this demo who gets so thrown off by this. Probably because I also read this out loud. Maybe someone who just like listens to it, they're just like, oh, whatever, I'm not gonna listen to it, or maybe you mute it or you lower the volume of the dialogue. But when I want to read what's in the bubble, someone else just saying something completely unrelated, it just, from a streamer's point of view, it just feels like my sentences are being interrupted a little bit. Is that weird? Like, I don't know. Maybe this doesn't bother you at all, but it is what it is for me, at least. But yeah, I'll definitely be playing this, and hopefully I got at least someone to get interested in the game.